Hello and welcome back to my show. Still haven't picked out a name for it. We are back with the tonight. We're back with the TIE Defender for this episode, and what I'm going to be featuring tonight is how to set up a an umbilical, basically, for the electrical system in each of the pylons. And that's of course applicable to several different kinds of models that need to be able to be taken off their stand. I'm going to demonstrate my plan for lighting the cockpit and try to get that underway. And finally, I'm going to light up these triple ion engines. So anyway, let's get started with the umbilicals. So here we have the parts we need for making the umbilicals. We have, of course, the pylon assembly, and you'll notice there that I've got a little bit of damage on that from the drilling that I did, but that's no big deal. I'm going to I can easily resculpt that. We have the pylons. We have our wire. We have a piece of square tubing. And we have a male and female jack. Now I've already got one of these put together. And where did I put that? Here it is. See, the way these work is you have a male and female, and they enable you to hook up to your power source like so, without causing a short. See how the heat shrink tubing there enables you to maintain insulation between the connectors. These are very useful little connectors. They are called, oh, here we go. I got these from Hobbytown, and they are gold BL connector sets, 2mm size. These are the smallest ones they had, and fortunately they were perfect for my needs. You can see there they're $3 for a set of 3 of them, for 3 pairs, male and female. And so first of all, what I'm going to do is take my square tubing like so and insert it into the pylon. Now I'm going to take a piece of smaller tubing here. Well, hold on a second. Let me try this. See if I can get that on there somehow. Well, okay. Whenever you're cutting a tube, or even a square one or a round one, and you're using a saw, like I'm doing, using my razor saw, you're going to have burrs on the inside, and even if you can't see them, they're going to be there because you're putting pressure on the inside of the tube, on the outside of the tube, which makes it shrink down in dimension. So what you want to do is basically just take your X-Acto knife and run it all on the inside like so. Tap out any debris. And after doing that, maybe once or twice, usually no more than once, there we go, you now are able to slide the next smallest size brass tube into it for some cool telescoping action. This is very useful for mounting models because this enables you to take it put it on and off the base without having a weak connection, or it provides a really strong way of mounting the model. Now anyway, back to the pylon. You want to slide it down in your hole like so. My camera doesn't like to focus, by the way, unless it just wants to all of a sudden. Now, right here. First of all, let me make sure this is perfectly square. And that looks pretty square. After you get the tube in there, you're going to want to tack it in place with some super glue. Now, when you do this, hold on a second. I just thought of something. See how this is going to need to be repaired? I'm going to have to shove some putty in there. Well, I plan on making it so the wire can pass between the wall of the inner wall of this pylon and the tube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over. That way, all the repair work will be on the other side of the channel where the wire is going to go through. So I'm just making sure it's square there. Extract the tube. Now I'm going to tack it in place with my super glue. You want a fairly good sized blob on there. Come on. Now, once you apply your super glue, you're going to want to take your other tube, insert it into the end, and press down firmly. This will set it. This will harden it, rather, almost immediately. See? It's now pretty firmly in place. And speaking of firmly in place, be careful with super glue. You probably will glue your fingers together at one point. This stuff was designed to be a liquid suture, so you know, it's very good on skin. But anyway, a slight tug and you're free. It's no big deal, but you will have some residue on your fingers, which will remove any tactile sensation. Okay, now that we have our tube in there, you're going to want to take your wire and run it through to test it. Make sure that it's free of any obstructions, and this is, thank goodness. And once that's done, you can start the process of soldering this. Now, these little gold things here, these connectors, are quite susceptible to soldering. They will take solder almost immediately, provided that you heat them up first. Remember my previous tutorial on soldering wires? It doesn't matter what kind of wire it is or what you're soldering. You're gonna want to heat up the part. This will make the solder flow into all the joints. See there, here, let me get close up. The solder has flowed into almost the entire cavity. Now, just let me go ahead and solder the other one. And there we go. Two perfectly soldered joints. Two perfectly soldered joints. Now, once you get your joints soldered together, then you want to take your heat shrink tubing and start cutting it. Now, the way I decided to do this is I have, see right here, I don't know if you can see that or not, but right there is a little neck on this piece. And I'm going to measure from that and cut about here. See, this right here is well past the joint, and the reason for that is so that there will be some security to this joint. Now, I think the wire is a little bit weak right here, so I'm going to strengthen it. And the way you do that, is you basically just solder into it. You melt some solder onto the tip of your iron, and you basically drag it back along the wire. And this will fill up all the cracks in the wire and will repair a multi-strand wire like this. Okay, now that we have our heat shrink tube cut, I'm going to go ahead and slip it on. And I want to say a quick word about multi-strand wires before I commence any further. Those are the kind of wires you want whenever you're doing a project like this where the wires are going to be moving. So you're going to be pulling them in and out of the mounting hole. So you need wires that are fairly robust but still flexible. Multi-strand wires offer that. They have several strands on the inside of them, which distribute all the stresses along several wires as opposed to one solid core wire. And this enables them to last longer while still maintaining flexibility. Okay, now once you have your heat shrink tube stuck onto your connector here, you're going to want to hold your soldering iron right up next to it. And it's hard to see in the video, I know. But what you're actually doing when you do this is shrinking the tube around your wire. And what this does is it, number one, it insulates the wire, and number two, it strengthens your joint by wrapping a fairly tight wrap around the wire. You don't necessarily have to touch your iron to the heat shrink tube in order to get it to shrink fast. You just have to be patient. Touching your wire to it won't make it shrink any faster, and it has a possibility of melting right through it and damaging your wire as well as your heat shrink tube. Okay, looks like that's about shrunk down. You can tell by comparing it to the original that it has shrunk considerably around the wire itself. Now I'm going to cut the video and heat shrink the other one, and then I'm going to show you what I plan on doing with the cockpit, my solution for making it glow on the inside. And I'll tell you why it's a solution in just a minute, as opposed to just sticking some bulbs in there.